Would you choose to invest in pure, unbridled passion or measured, strategically assembled business acumen?
That's a tough one, Charlotte. I'm drawn to passion, having seen it drive success in the culinary world, but there's no denying the significance business acumen holds for investment decisions.
Absolutely, Natalie. The math, the foresight, and the thorough understanding of markets are crucial. But today we'll be discussing if there's some wiggle room here. Can an entrepreneur's passion and determination hold their own against a meticulously crafted business strategy?
Charlotte, can I add something here? From my experience in the food industry, I've seen passionate entrepreneurs build something amazing. But that's not to exclude the business acumen. You need to keep the financial health of your enterprise intact while fueling your passion.
Exactly. And the aim is to strike a balance, right? So, I like to see entrepreneurs who are both passionate and business-oriented in their pitches. But it's hard sometimes to differentiate between genuine passion and a well-rehearsed facade.
Oh, I agree. The startup world can be full of hype. As a potential investor, you must be armed with the ability to differentiate. But let's not rush. We've got a whole episode to unpack these complexities in detail.
What role does an entrepreneur's orientation really play in investment decisions?
Well, Charlotte, it's crucial. The strategic orientation of an entrepreneur can greatly shape a startup's trajectory, impacting everything from the formulation of business strategies to growth pathways. Look at Jeff Bezos of Amazon, for instance. His customer-oriented approach is a key reason Amazon has grown from an online bookstore to a global retail giant.
Interesting you bring up Bezos, Natalie. It seems that defining one's orientation is not just about determining the direction that the startup follows, but also about influencing how potential investors perceive the entrepreneur's ability. But how exactly can investors assess an entrepreneur's orientation from a pitch?
It's indeed a challenge, Charlotte. You need to read between the lines, pay attention to the nuances, and most importantly, understand the entrepreneur's behavior and vision. Back to Bezos. In his early pitch to investors, he was very clear about his intent. His vision was to create an everything store, not just a bookstore. Investors believed it because his actions were consistent with his vision.
Great point, Natalie. From my perspective as an engineer, making predictions and risk assessments, it's of utmost importance to understand if the entrepreneur's orientation is aligned with the startup's proposed model. An obvious alignment can mean that the entrepreneur has a clear, effective strategy and is ready to dive headfirst into the market, which can be beneficial for making investment decisions. But again, it's also critical not to get blinded by the hype. It's a balance.
Indeed, Charlotte. Often ambitious entrepreneurs get caught up in the rush and lose sight of the bigger picture. They might misalign their orientation just to match the investor's expectations. So it's not just about investors evaluating the entrepreneur's orientation, but also about the entrepreneurs aligning their orientation in a well-thought-out manner, rather than misleading their potential investors.
Here, I'd like to expand this discussion. What about the entrepreneurs who successfully attracted investments despite having different orientations at different times? Their flexibility and adaptability could be a game changer, but it also adds another layer of complexity to the investor's decision-making process. One question that remains is it better for entrepreneurs to be consistent in their orientations or to be adaptable?
That's quite an intriguing question, Charlotte, and it points to the multidimensionality of an entrepreneur's orientation. In my view, an entrepreneur's ability to adapt their orientation based on changing business landscapes could be seen as a strength. But at the same time, consistency in one's core values and principles is equally important. It's all about finding the right equilibrium. This question of evaluating an entrepreneur's orientation is complex.
Indeed, it isn't just about looking at their vision or the strategic direction they have planned for their startup, though these are certainly significant components.
No doubt. It digs deeper, including their determination, attitude towards their employees, long-term and short-term perspectives, resilience, even their professionalism.
Professionalism is certainly vital. Have they shown that they can manage and direct a team effectively, responsibly handle the tough business decisions, or judiciously conduct themselves in stressful situations?
Or their response to failures. Let's talk about that too. Startups never have a smoothly sailing journey, do they? Can the entrepreneur adapt and reorient their orientation if a strategy fails? Are they capable of rapidly understanding the new landscape and forging a new path?
Exactly. And we can't dismiss the value of their ability to communicate this orientation. How are they conveying their orientation and plans during the pitch? Is it clear to the investors? Does it match the startup's model?
And even beyond the pitch, does it manifest in their actions or operations of the startup? For investors, it's important to look for signs of genuine commitment to their proposed orientation.
True. At the end of the day, the orientation of an entrepreneur influences so much more than the strategic direction of the company. It tells you about their adaptability, resilience, professionalism, maybe even their integrity. And these are all values that investors should not overlook. Let's tackle passion in startups, Natalie. In your experience with the food industry, how critical do you think passion is for entrepreneurs?
Charlotte, I can't stress this enough. Passion is like fuel for a startup. It's what ignites the creation of unique ideas and pushes entrepreneurs to commit countless hours into realizing them.
I can imagine that. Startups are inherently risky and face numerous challenges. Without passion, would entrepreneurs have the tenacity to persevere amid uncertainty or setbacks?
Exactly. Passion drives entrepreneurs to persevere, learn from their mistakes, and pivot whenever necessary. It's like the secret ingredient in grandmother's traditional dish, the strange thing that turns a simple meal into something extraordinary.
And from an investor's viewpoint, passion can be immensely engaging. A pitch delivered with enthusiasm can capture investors' attention and make them buy into the startup's potential.
Yes, but I think it's also important to note the difference between genuine passion and, well, theatrical flair.
An interesting point. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. While enthusiasm is important, it can be misleading. One might get caught up in a charismatic entrepreneur's well-rehearsed pitch without truly evaluating the viability of the startup. Genuine passion, on the other hand, aligns with the startup's vision and drives the entrepreneur to do what's best for their venture, not just in their pitch, but in everything they do.
You're saying passion is more than just a performance given during the pitch. It also directly influences the entrepreneur's decision-making in daily operations. It's easy to get swept up in a passionate pitch, isn't it?
Indeed, Charlotte. Entrepreneurs are storytellers. Their pitches are captivating narratives. However, it's important to discern true passion from an amplified performance.
So, how might an investor differentiate actual passion from mere theatrics?
Well, one way is to align the entrepreneur's enthusiasm with their demonstrated commitment to the startup. Genuine passion manifests in persistence, resilience, and long hours devoted to their venture. It's witnessed in action, not just in words.
I find it useful to analyze entrepreneurs within the context of their industry. A passionate fashion tech entrepreneur, for instance, might reveal a deep understanding of both fashion trends and advanced technology. His or her insights prove the passion towards both elements of the business.
That's a great point. Also, in line with the food industry parallel, it can be like distinguishing homemade salsa from a commercially produced one. With homemade salsa, there's a certain richness, depth, thoughtfulness, something just a notch above. Similarly, genuine passion radiates deeper than flashy, surface-level enthusiasm.
True. I also look for continuity of that passion. Long-term dedication to a concept or a problem is often a stronger indicator of genuine passion than a random brilliant idea. Rather than a love for the idea itself, I'd love to see a love for the problem they're trying to solve.
Right? Ideally, we want to witness how the entrepreneur's passion fuels their resilience in the face of challenges. Like in a busy kitchen, the real test of a chef's passion isn't in the initial dish presentation, but rather how they handle the heat of unexpected trials. Resilience, the backbone of any successful venture. Wouldn't you say, Charlotte?
Absolutely. Resilience defines how an entrepreneur navigates through the challenging journey of a startup. Without resilience, even a fantastic business idea can collapse under pressure.
And it's not just about the entrepreneur's courage to endure, but also about their skills in maintaining investor confidence during tough times. This is like keeping the flame alive in a harsh wind.
Our listeners might be wondering, How can we evaluate resilience during a pitch?
Great question, Charlotte. The hard part is, resilience is often seen in times of struggle, which a pitch doesn't normally exhibit.
True. But we can look for indicators through questioning. Ask about challenges they've faced and how they've responded. We can also look at their past records, such as handling of previous ventures or projects.
Right. It's the unwillingness to give up. Take the food industry, for instance. Chefs are pushed to the edge during the peak hours, but they continue to serve customers quality food. Similar resilience is needed, and more, in the startup world.
Also, there are some famous startups that truly embody resilience. Tesla Motors, for instance, went through a tough phase at the beginning, yet Elon Musk successfully navigated the company through the crisis.
Exactly, he almost went bankrupt, but Musk proved his resilience by not only surviving but thriving. He stayed headstrong, maintained investor confidence, and look where Tesla is now. Charlotte, isn't it interesting how resilience intertwines with adaptability in entrepreneurial journeys?
Yes, Natalie. Resilience and adaptability are like two sides of the same coin. Too much of one can result in the absence of the other. High resilience can sometimes make one stubborn to adapt. On the other hand, being too adaptable might result in a lack of consistency, which erodes resilience.
We see that depicted often in cooking too. Chefs must be resilient to pressure but adaptable when supplies run short. Similar parallels are visible in the startup world.
Yes, it's a fine line. During pitches, I recommend our listeners to listen to incidents where the entrepreneur had to demonstrate adaptability. Did their idea pivot in response to market research or customer feedback? How did they deal with curveballs, especially unexpected ones?
I guess for people like me who aren't familiar with funding and investment, it's like seeing whether a chef can adapt a family recipe for everyone's liking, or just stick stubbornly to the original.
That's an excellent analogy, Natalie. In startups, such adaptability isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Because the business world, like nature, sides with those who can adapt. It's about staying resilient in the face of adversity, but also adapting your strategies for survival.
Right. It feels like a fusion of science and art, each complementing the other. You've got to keep the fire of your passion alive while evolving the recipe of your startup's growth. Isn't this what makes entrepreneurship so compelling?
Indeed, Natalie. Success in entrepreneurship often requires a careful balancing act between holding one's ground and adapting to changing circumstances. Investors appreciate entrepreneurs who can demonstrate a keen sense for knowing when to do one or the other. Can the finesse of a Michelin star chef be compared to an entrepreneur's business acumen?
Sounds intriguing, Charlotte. Could you clarify that a bit?
Sure, Natalie. Just like a chef must have the right ingredients, a recipe, timing for execution, and an understanding of their audience's preference, an entrepreneur must also have a well-structured business model, a market assessment, a well-defined pathway to execution, and a deep understanding of their customers' needs. No matter how innovative an idea might be, without these, it's a recipe for disaster.
So we're looking for short-term plans feasible in reality, a long-term vision and adaptability.
Absolutely, Natalie. When evaluating a pitch, observe how the entrepreneur outlines their business model. Do they clearly identify their target market, customer, distribution channels, and revenue streams? Do they understand their costs and have a financial plan? These are the telltale signs of sound business acumen.
And how do I know their business model will actually work?
A critical question, Natalie. Consider their market analysis. Have they identified a clear problem that their product solves? Is the market size and potential revenue justifiable? Also, do they understand their competition? Having a thorough understanding of these factors is a good indicator that their business model will hold water.
So just like in cooking, it's not just about having great ingredients. It's about knowing how to put them together in the right way.
That's correct, Natalie. And just as a chef tweaks their dish based on feedback, entrepreneurs must also refine their business model based on market shifts and customer feedback. It shows their readiness to pivot for success. Think back to the start of a Monopoly game. Imagine you're the banker, assessing what to invest in, where, and when. That intuition, Natalie, can teach us a lot about business acumen in startups.
Interesting. So is strong business acumen like having a keen sense of when and what to invest in Monopoly?
Exactly. Entrepreneurs with strong business acumen don't randomly hop around boardwalks. They carefully evaluate where they are, what's around them, and make strategic bets. They're constantly learning from every roll of the dice, or, in the startup world, every feedback loop.
Yeah, there's no secret rulebook for success in Monopoly or startups, but strategy does play a significant role. So what signs in a pitch signal an entrepreneur with strong business acumen?
Great question, Natalie. Look for clarity in their business model. Are they able to succinctly explain it? Alongside that, see if they have a deep understanding of their target market, competition, unique selling points, and how they plan to grow and scale. Also, their ability to pivot when faced with market shifts or feedback tells a lot about their adaptability, which is a crucial aspect of strong business acumen.
I'm on it. And any key signs that signal weak acumen?
Yes, entrepreneurs who don't consider competition, disregard or underestimate potential obstacles, or fail to explain their revenue streams and expenses, display a weaker understanding of their business. Such entrepreneurs may lack the ability to adapt because they don't thoroughly understand where their business stands.
That's useful. So, how can someone nurture and improve their business acumen?
Learning is key, Natalie. Reading business books, attending workshops, listening to podcasts, and engaging with mentors can all help. It's also important to gain hands-on experience, embrace failure as a learning tool, stay curious, and regularly reflect on personal and business growth. Think of it like Monopoly. The more you play, the more you learn about winning strategies and avoiding pitfalls.
Okay, from business acumen, we transition now to team dynamics, specifically leadership. Charlotte, isn't leadership innate? How does one measure leadership during a pitch?
Well, Natalie, leadership isn't always innate. Many successful leaders have cultivated their skills over time. As for measuring leadership during a pitch, it can be tricky as it's not always directly evident. Investors often look for an entrepreneur's ability to articulate a vision, to galvanize a team towards that vision, credibility, and demonstrated past success.
So a good leader needs to have a clear vision and be able to rally their team behind that vision. Sounds a lot like a good captain steering a ship through a storm.
Indeed, prime leadership often resembles a dependable captain. On the other hand, team quality also plays a pivotal role. Even the most skilled leader would flounder with a team that isn't up to the mark. A strong team can balance each other's strengths and weaknesses, move in tandem towards the overall goal, and cultivate a working environment that nurtures innovation and determination.
And on cue, that brings us back to the importance of communication. A leader has to share their vision effectively to mobilize the team, right?
Absolutely, Natalie. Effective communication is vital. However, it should be two-way. A leader needs not only to clearly articulate their vision, but also to listen and consider the team's ideas and feedback.
So it's about balance too. Strike a chord between communicating effectively and being receptive. So how can an investor gauge if an entrepreneur has that balance?
Gauging this balance can be challenging. Typically, investors can look for examples of how the entrepreneur handled feedback, and instances where they incorporated the team's ideas into their strategy portrays an open culture. Observing how the team interacts with each other and the entrepreneur can additionally hint at the existent leadership dynamics.
Let's examine cases where strong leadership and high-quality teams steered startups towards success. How about the Instagram story, Charlotte?
Instagram. That's an example where leadership and team quality played a crucial role. Kevin Systrom, the co-founder and CEO, demonstrated strong leadership qualities right from the start. He had a vision for Instagram, to simplify photo sharing, and he brought on board the right people who shared this vision to make it a reality. Instagram had a small, tight-knit team of only 13 people when it was acquired by Facebook for a staggering $1 billion. This shows how a capable leader with a dedicated team can achieve immense success.
Wow, just 13 people and they created such a successful product. I'm sure their initial pitch must have been incredible.
Absolutely. And it's not all about the numbers. What's remarkable about the Instagram team was their collective ability to build and enhance their product continuously. I believe their adaptability and commitment to their vision also reflects the strong leadership from Systrom.
There's a key takeaway for startups here, isn't there?
Yes, there is. At the end of the day, be it in the realm of startups or otherwise, it boils down to having clear direction and the right people who can commit to that direction. As exemplified by Instagram, a capable leader with a cohesive and committed team can steer a startup towards immense success.
Charlotte, isn't communication and pitching just as crucial as having a brilliant idea?
Absolutely, Natalie. It doesn't matter how incredible your product or solution is if you can't efficiently convey its value to potential investors. The way an entrepreneur communicates can make or break a pitch presentation.
But what factors differentiate good from excellent communication in a startup pitch?
Firstly, an entrepreneur's ability to articulate their vision and unique value proposition precisely and succinctly is essential. They must be able to paint a clear and compelling picture of their startup to pique investor interest. This involves not just speaking eloquently, but also strategically picking the right information to convey.
I can see how that would be crucial since investors must see hundreds of pitches.
Absolutely. Investors don't have time for jargon or long-winded pitches. Secondly, effective communication in a pitch involves active listening. Entrepreneurs should be responsive to investor queries and feedback, showcasing their adaptability and willingness to learn.
So it's a two-way street then, not just talking but also listening?
Exactly. And finally, entrepreneurs should focus on positive body language. Nonverbal communication often speaks louder than words. Confidence, eye contact, appropriate gestures. These small things can significantly boost the effectiveness of a pitch.
At times, I struggle with getting my passion across effectively during my trading post pitches. How can entrepreneurs improve their communication?
Start by crafting a crisp and compelling elevator pitch, which succinctly describes the value your startup brings. This needs to be refined and practiced until it's second nature. Then, seek constructive feedback from peers and mentors. Their insights can help polish your pitch. Research and understand your audience before the pitch. Tailor your pitch to their interests and preferences. And never underestimate the power of storytelling. A good narrative can make your pitch more relatable and memorable.
That sounds very practical. Pitching is indeed an art form. Charlotte, our listeners might be curious about such pitches that wowed investors due to their superior communication skills. Can you share any examples?
Absolutely. A great example is Airbnb's pitch to Y Combinator. At its core, Airbnb's idea was simple: people renting out their homes. But what set them apart was their effective communication style. Brian Chesky, the founder, used emotional storytelling to paint a picture of a world where you could belong anywhere, making each investor feel a part of his vision.
That must have been powerful.
Indeed. He mixed data with stories, a tactic often overlooked. By sharing customer testimonials and their success metrics, Chesky demonstrated the product's demand and value. He sold an experience, not just a service.
Charlotte, I also read about Dropbox's pitch. Didn't they use a demo video in their pitch presentation effectively?
Yes, that's correct. Drew Houston, the CEO, created a simple yet highly effective video demonstrating Dropbox's functionality while injecting humor, making it memorable. It wasn't just about showing the product, but how it filled a pressing need: the problem of managing files across devices. The demo video pitch demonstrated clear communication and understanding of market demand.
So, for all the budding entrepreneurs listening in, how could they elevate their communication skills for a pitch?
To start, be clear and concise. Investors appreciate brevity. When crafting your pitch, always tie back to your central idea, highlighting your unique selling proposition. Show, don't just tell. Use visuals, demos, or customer testimonials to convey your value proposition, like Dropbox. Finally, if you don't know something, admit it. It's better to convey sincerity and willingness to learn. Natalie, do you recall a time when an overly confident entrepreneur undermined their pitch?
Yes, Charlotte. I remember a case where an entrepreneur seemed arrogant, not taking any investor feedback on board. Although his business plan was solid, the attitude was a red flag.
Exactly, Natalie. That's among the pitfalls of pitching, mistaking confidence with arrogance. A good pitch is one thing, but truly great pitches demonstrate humility and openness to feedback, however strong their initial vision or product might be.
Can subtle cues make a difference, Charlotte?
Definitely. The devil is, as they say, in the details. Subtle signs of how entrepreneurs view their future customers, or if they've truly thought through their business model, can be telling. Clues of overpromising or unrealistic market expectations often indicate a lack of critical thinking or grounded research. Now, are there differences you've noticed between a good pitch and a great one?
From my experience, a great pitch not only presents an idea, but also portrays the entrepreneur's capacity to bring that idea to fruition. It provides a sense of their character, their passion, their resilience. While good pitches tend to focus on product features and market stats, the best ones make you believe in the entrepreneur.
Precisely. It's essential for investors to feel that the entrepreneur not only has a solid product or service, but can also scale it and handle the adversities that inevitably come with the territory. You know, Natalie, as we come to the end of today's episode, I'm reminded of this quote that always resonates with me. Less is more. A philosophy that holds true for startups, especially in their pitching phase. Giving just enough information to pique investors' interest is more effective than bombarding them with unending data.
And knowing what to include and what to leave out is such an art, isn't it?
Absolutely. For improving the pitch, entrepreneurs should narrow down the key points that highlight the problem they are solving, their unique solution, and the traction they have achieved so far. It's important to keep trim and tidy, isn't it?
Yes, it's about an exceptional narrative that ties together the idea, the team, and the execution strategy succinctly and convincingly.
That's true, and let's bust this misconception while we're at it. A popular belief is that you have to sell your startup in a pitch, which creates a temptation to overhype. But Natalie, wouldn't you agree that it's about presenting your vision in a realistic way, backed up with enough data to make it believable?
Yes, Charlotte. And this brings me to the story of Airbnb. Their initial pitch deck was flooded with excess information that distracted from the core vision. But when they streamlined it, focusing on their unique home-sharing concept that was disrupting the traditional hotel industry, it became one of the most referred pitch decks in history, securing their initial investment.
That's a perfect example, Natalie. The Airbnb story truly underscores the importance of an on-point, clear, and memorable pitch. Distilling the vision into that one central idea, backed by solid data, can determine whether a startup gets funded or not.